news update at 4 minutes past 7.
Extra time on Tipp FM.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening. We'd love to hear from you. Our text number is 083 311 3311. That works for WhatsApp messages as well. 083 311 3311. Later on tonight's show we'll be looking back obviously on Tip Cork in the park that took place on Saturday night. We'll have reaction. We'll hear from Liam Cahill in a few moments. Ken will be with us to give us his thoughts along with JJ and Tom as well. We'll also have reaction to the high school. They had a loss in the Munster Final against CBS Tralee. Tommy Morrissey will join us along with Paddy O'Gorman, who is the high school manager after that disappointing loss. But it's important, I think, for the high school to reflect on the journey they've been on this year and the scalps they took along the way. AIL Rugby is getting to the business end of things. John Long from Nina Ormond will join us, and we'll also have TSDL news with Barry Ryan before we go off air this evening. Just to remind you that Tip FM Sports Star of the month for February, we're accepting nominations for that now. Our text number is 083. If you want to send a nomination, my apologies, for the Sports Star of the month for February, you send an email to sportstar@tipfm.com. That's sportstar, SPORTSSTAR, all one word, at tipfm.com. And we're looking for nominations for February after some really good performances already, and we're only on the 9th of February. Sportstar@tipfm.com. That's in association with Cork Trophies Limited of Care and also the Talbot Hotel in Clonmel. That text number again for tonight is 083 311 3311. One texter in already says the two goalkeepers were the only two players who should have been sent off last Saturday night. They had no reason getting involved, says one texter. 083 311 3311. Let's hear from Liam Cahill. He spoke to the assembled media at the full-time whistle in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Saturday night.
Disappointed with the results. 7 points. I thought maybe we could have been a bit closer than that, just in reflection, but probably the start of the second half hurt us a little bit. We left a few chances after us, and then towards the end of the game, I suppose, Cork just made better decisions on the ball and kicked on as we started to tire. But all in all, a really good workout, huge crowd, learning lots, and I suppose nice to get some bit of a break now after 3 weeks on the go.
There was a bit of madness before half time with all that kind of push and shoving, ended in 2 red cards. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, sure, look, it's disappointing when you see that developing, There was a lot of bodies, to be honest with you, genuinely couldn't really see how it instigated or what happened. I think maybe the two players in question were just misfortunate in a lot of ways to be the two that paid the price. Because both in nature wouldn't be that type of player, to be honest. But talking to the referee and the officials after, I think it was a case of just trying to, to get control back and bring conduct back into the game, which needed to happen. And I think to be minimal enough in relation to suspensions developing out of it, I would think.
The second half then, it kind of, it felt a little bit almost like kind of shadow boxing or something. It wasn't full-fledged as you maybe saw in the first half. What did you make of that second half and how it played out?
Yeah, sure, look, 14-14, I suppose we were really happy, as well with the way we withstood the Cork pressure after the black card as well. I suppose that to be important to mention that. I thought we did quite well after that, but did the game peter out in the second half. I suppose both teams were playing with an extra man at the back, and there's always going to be that extra pass or two developing as a result of that. So, still thought that was a fairly decent workout for both, to be honest.
And just last one for myself, when Darren McCarthy came on, he didn't get the best reception, or when he was standing over the freeze. Maybe it's an element of kind of pantomime stuff, but still kind of difficult for him as well.
Yeah, that's probably creeping into sport in general around, isn't it? But look, there is well capable of putting that to the back of his mind. Look, it's a bit of friendly banter, I'd imagine. Nothing major from our side, to be honest. But it's going to be something similar, I suppose, come April or May, come Munster Championship when the stadium is full as well, and huge credit to the Cork supporters tonight to pack out the stadium. Brilliant experience again for a lot of our newer players, and always great to see that interest in the game of hurling.
Did you think the black card was harsh, Liam?
Yeah, I thought the black card. I like the idea of it. It's a very quick decision, isn't it, to see whether or not there's nobody back, whether it is really warranted. We could maybe have said the same about, as Willie Connors was going through in the second half. We tried to maybe look for it, but the explanation we were given is that there was more red jerseys back than was required for a black card, and that's fair enough too. But yeah, it has to be fairly clear, though, hasn't it? If they're going to call it, especially now, it's all right third round of the National League, but when it comes to maybe third round of the Munster Championship and everything is on the line, these calls are going to be big calls when they do arrive. So, but if that is the case, it's a rule I wouldn't be giving out about anyway, to be honest. Good barometer of our players out tonight, and we learned a lot tonight. Now, you're never happy when you get beaten, but happy with the performance, happy with the attitude of our players, really happy with the way they stuck in there, had it back to 3 points with 4 minutes to go, and so there's a lot to take from it from us now, to be honest.
That's Liam Cahill speaking to the media after the 29-22 defeat at the hands of Cork in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Saturday night. Ken Hogan was there for Tip FM. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Ronan.
A lot to take from that, I think, Ken. Liam, in his post-match interview there, just a couple of sentences I'll read back to you. Decent workout, we learned a lot, great attitude. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. Liam was, his famous quote last year, the league was very good to us, and I think it'll be no different this year. We made 8 changes to play after the effort beating Galway. We made 6 changes to play Cork after Tullamore. So I think all these players that are within the squad, they deserve to get their opportunities, and I think Liam is, blooding all the guys and getting lads in and finding out a lot of things about fellas. So I think that's the bigger picture overall, Ronan.
Yeah, there was some things to like. I think, and Liam references as well, I think we did really well when we had 14 men after the black card to Johnny. Yeah,
we did very well for a long time, and the Johnny black card, was it a trip? What was it within the rules? I don't know. I felt that Johnny didn't deliberately attempt to impede the player going through, but that's the rub of the green. In league games, particularly early on, February, March, we hear this every year, both in football and hurling, the strictness of the rules, what's going on around the place. Rules have been implemented, but then come championship, then it changes diameter. And from our perspective, I suppose, we just had to suck it up and get on with it. And the 14 versus 14 was a little bit surreal, but in the modern day game now, Ronan, these things can happen, and I'm sure all these people train and play for situations where there could be 14 against 15, things like that. So I suppose overall it was a decent workout. As Liam said, they got it back to 3 points, or thereabouts, but Cork just utterly pulled away in the end. Dara Fitzgibbon, absolutely outstanding, 6 from play. Yeah, moving Dara from Fitzgibbon from midfield to the half forward line seems to have, I suppose, removed any shackles from a scoring point of view. He's a very significant scoring forward for them now. Yeah, and they dilly-dallied with that last year as well. They played him at 11 for a long time, played Shane Barrett at 10. Then Shane Barrett assumed the 11 position, and Dara went back to midfield. So they still have that little Achilles heel in midfield, who they still haven't got probably, the right mix there. Ethan Toomey was playing there, Micheál Mullins last weekend. Tim O'Mahony came on for the second half, improved the situation there. So there's still plenty of conundrums there for Cork as well. So I suppose people are going to, go with the tried and trusted. But I think the most important thing from our point of view is that we're well aware now of the threat that Fitzgibbon, Alan Connolly, Brian Hayes and co. We were well aware of it last year. We'll be well aware of it going into championship in April again this year. Owen Connolly, when he came on, not only did he contribute significantly with 4 points from
place balls. But I think he just tightened up the defence a little bit as well.
Yes, he's a really solid performer. Like his first 20 minutes, and that's barely what he was on the pitch for. But by God, he made an impact. He's a solid player, hugely versatile as well. By the way, Ronan, can play in full back line and half back line, even midfield. But his striking ability is second to none. His relief and on that half back line, the clearances he delivers, diagonal balls he hits, plus his defensive duties, are so important to Tip, and getting himself and Robert Doyle, Mikey Breen, Ronan Maher, the aforementioned Darragh McCarthy and John McGrath and co, these fellas getting back in around the place is so important for Tip, coming closer to, I suppose, championship when the ground firms up and when the serious business begins.
So I suppose on its merits, it was what it was. It was a good 70 minutes in front of 30,000 people that'll stand to us later in the year. Is that as much as we need to discuss tonight, or is there anything that we're missing, or can we overanalyse a league match in February?
I mean, you can't overanalyse it. Lads will analyse it. They will talk about different things. The big pluses, of course, Cahill O'Reilly, coming into the team and getting to play in front of 31,000 people down in Cork. I think that type of atmosphere, will give those type of guys, the experience of playing. It was a hostile atmosphere. It was the first time, I love Cork, the cauldron of Cork. First time I sort of went down there, I felt it was a hostile atmosphere from everybody, supporters, players alike, and we've got to deal with that. And I suppose, that's the tag and the mantle you take as champions, people are there to take you down. So I think we've got to adjust to that. I think I don't know where the tickets are going to be got for Thurles, because it's going to be an absolute sellout. We'd fill it twice, but it's really something to look forward to. But I think the experience of playing in Cork last year stood to us. I think last weekend stood to us. It brings us on. It gives us a 2-week break to the Limerick game as well, because Limerick refreshed themselves yesterday. We're up and at it against Kilkenny. So Saturday week in Thurles will be a great occasion as well. Obviously playing in Park Keefe, the ball was flying. You could hop it off the ground. Other pitches, aren't like that at this time.
Yeah, it was very impressive. I thought the pitch was very impressive.
Yeah, particularly after the weather we're after having. So hopefully things will firm up. It's going to be colder for the weekend, drier. So hopefully Simple Stadium has been in good order. It has taken a good few matches already. So I think the Limerick game is going to be another big test for us. We have Limerick to come. Still we have Kilkenny to come. They're going to be rippers of matches as well.
Just on the 2 weeks we have between now and we face Limerick on a Saturday afternoon, late afternoon in Thurles, what will is it just a big heavy bunch of training that the players will be expected to do at this time of the year in the 2 week interval? Like, some of them have got Fitzgibbon, and I appreciate that they'll be probably excused from the heavy lifting, but is this a period when serious heavy lifting will be done as well?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done, but strength and conditioning, the modern day training now involves a lot more science than used to. The square bashing is over now, Roland. The smartness comes into it as regards the conditioning of players, but the biggest thing of all, I think, is to get that match practice. When you have a panel of 38 players, you want to get match practice. I presume, I'd say the lads will definitely have maybe a challenge game or an internal game. They will work on things that hasn't worked out from so far. Already they'll be preparing, their game plans and, their systems for what's coming down the road for them. So, tests like the Limerick game, the Kilkenny games, they're mighty for the players, but also Liam is finding out in training, well, what guys do I need? What 24, what 25 players do I need to stand the test of playing, first week, second week, and then back into it and playing another couple of games within a couple of weeks again. So I think, as well as the training, there'll be a lot of soul searching done, probably a small bit of analysis done and a bit of work done, in the classroom as well, as regards how they're tactically set up and getting everybody familiar with their roles in the team.
Yeah, it's three games down. We've done what we've had to do, I think, pretty much in the 3 games we've played. Limerick at home, Waterford away, and then Kilkenny at home are the 3 remaining fixtures. Ken, as always, many thanks for your time this evening.
Anytime, Ron.
Thanks indeed. Ken Hogan joining us there. Lots of texts coming in this evening. Couldn't help but think, says one texter, that Liam was in a better place after the game, as pressure from 15 men versus 14 was impressive. Cork are evidently further on in regard of our fitness level. Our first touch was a bit off, but that can happen, says one texter. And in fairness, I think that's probably accurate. You know, I think Cork are a little bit further on than we are in terms of you know, where they maybe started a week or two before us, but that'll all even out, I'd imagine, once the Munster Championship comes round. But like, there's 3 more league games, significant league games, to come before we have to think about Munster Championship. Ronan, just a few quick points on Saturday night's game. Firstly, the disgusting behaviour of a large section of the court supporters when Jake stood over the freeze. It went up a notch when Dara came on. Ben O'Connor, in his rant about hurling turning into soccer with yellow cards, red cards, but nothing coming out of his mouth about the soccer element that the Cork supporters are showing with their booing, whistling and jeering when the opposition player are taking frees. And finally, the stadium announcer, when he was giving out the attendance, he thanked the Cork supporters for turning up. Did it slip his mind that Tipperary sports had to travel, not get home until late? It's not cheap travelling to these games, so both sets of supporters should have been thanked for their support on the night, says this texter. And there's more on that text in relation to the length of time that Ben O'Connor was talking about, the length of time fellas are taking with frees. But in football, for example, God almighty, they're bringing up the goalkeeper, and it takes an age for that to happen. So anyway, I don't think we've a significant issue with it, but some opposition managers and perhaps opposition supporters seem to have an issue with it, but time will tell. Anyway, JJ Kennedy's on the line. Hi, JJ.
Hi, Ronan.
I want to get your view, first of all, of the black card issues. I used the word in plural there because one was given and one wasn't. What was your view on it on Saturday night?
Yeah, I guess look there at the actual match. Your view isn't great, maybe, but looking back on it, I think it fitted the rule. I don't think we could have had any complaint about it. There did seem to be a trip on Alan Connolly, and it doesn't matter whether it's accidental or deliberate. A trip is a foul, and it's specifically stated in that cynical foul rule, you know, that if you trip an opponent, if you pull him down, or if you strike with a hurley, then it's a penalty and a black card. So I have no issue with that one. Not too sure about the Willie Connors one. The one thing that astonishes me, I was listening to the part Liam's interview that you played there at the beginning of the programme, and he said the explanation they were given was that there were enough red jerseys back. That astonishes me if that's given as a reason, because we have different pundits trotting this thing out regularly. It's not a goal opportunity because there are 2 or 3 defenders back. There's nothing about defenders being back in the rule. It has nothing to do with the rule. You can have 15 defenders back, but if a player gets within the 20-metre, inside the 20-metre line or the semicircle, and he's bearing down on goal, he has a goal chance. It doesn't mean a goal certainty, but it's a goal chance, a goal opportunity. And this nonsense about there being players back, I think, needs to be taken out of the debate entirely.
Also, there's Ben O'Connor's making a rod for his own back, in my opinion. Now, he might disagree with me, but he's giving very candid interviews post-match, and they're becoming, lighting a touch paper on a debate that's happening for a week afterwards. And I'm not so sure he's doing himself particularly any favours, but maybe it's good from a media point of view, because the media lap this kind of stuff up. But what's your view on it?
Yeah, no, he's a godsend for the media, because every statement out of his mouth is a headline, and so the press love him, obviously. But I'd agree with you. I don't think he's doing Cork any favours. I just cringe at some of this guff that he comes out of. But to me, it is just guff. This hard man stuff, and what's wrong with a bit of blood, and all of this sort of thing, and almost promoting malaise and whatnot, and what's wrong with getting a tap on the head with a hurley and so on. It's crazy stuff, and I've no time for it whatsoever. And I think long term, he probably will do Cork more damage with that stuff than anybody else. he might be much better off if he started, making a point about how unsporting some of the Cork supporters were last night. I think some of your texters were on about it there.
Yeah, they're all coming in about it. Yeah.
It's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, we have a long history with Cork, and generally relations among the supporters are usually the best in the country. I would say there's a great.
I think there's mutual respect there. Yeah.
Absolute mutual respect, but this is a new dimension that has crept in, and it started in last year's All Ireland when Dara McCarthy was being booed on the freeze, and it reached a new pitch in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Saturday night, and it's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. It's unsporting, and it's just so wrong. And I'd be saying that if it was tip players that are tip supporters that were booing a Pat Horgan or an Alan Connolly, the very same thing would apply. It just has no place, and I think it needs to be addressed. I
don't disagree with anything you've said. Tom McGrath joins us. How are you, Tom?
Good, Ronan.
I'm going to move on and ask you about. There seems to be an awful lot of maybe Ben is the architect of this, talking about referees being overly cautious, or about perhaps referees being overly worried about an assessor in the stands, and he's mentioned it on 2 occasions now, and fellas in the stand ticking boxes, and he felt that the sendings off after the coming together of 28 players on Saturday night, the referee was just ticking a box in relation to brandishing red cards. As somebody like yourself who does referee matches, is there any truth in what he's saying, and is this something that we're going to hear repeated throughout the summer?
Well, I think there's a lot, and actually I'd be disagreeing with JJ a small bit here like that. I think there was more. No, okay, Ben O'Connor went over the top in spots, all right, and displayed a fair bit of inexperience in front of the media. He's relatively new to this thing, and maybe he needs to get a little bit of media training into his body. But there was probably anger there, frustration, all that type of stuff. But his thing about the assessor in the stand. I mean, if you go back on some of the matches 10, 12, 15 years ago, I was giving out about this guy in the stand as well. Well, it has reached a different level now, because I think a point was made by somebody somewhere today that one of the best matches in Munster in the last 10 years was refereed by John Keenan from Wicklow, and he done a very good job on it. But he got no other match for the rest of that year because he didn't tick the boxes with the guy in the stand.
Can I just say to you that my understanding is
he let the thing flow,
that referees aren't really assessed in the way that it's being portrayed. That there are mentors for them who discuss preparation, discuss the game, and ask the referees to review their own performance. So it's a little bit of a bad descriptor to describe them as assessors, when I think that they would see themselves more as mentors rather than assessors. I don't know if you go along with that.
No, because you see, the mentor is not going to have to make the decision in the heat of the moment. And now Liam Gordon didn't make his decision in the heat of the moment. I think he spent too long talking to our mutual friend Johnny about what he was going to do and what he wasn't going to do.
3 minutes, I think.
I felt when he had the 2 yellows given, that was it. I was shocked, horrified, because the bit that gets up my nose with regard to players is when a player grabs the top of your jersey just underneath the chin and pushes and pushes and pushes. He's actually knuckling you under the chin, and I abhor that. When I'd have the whistle, that's a yellow card to me for the guy that's going on taking the guy by the front of the jersey, and he's actually punching him. Short little jabs, but they're hits to his chin and that face area. There's no mistake about it. But no, the thing was the other night, he just had to get on with it. But how they picked the 2 out of the rest of the crew, and there was a bit made then. I'll defend our own lads. There was a case made that Rhys Shelley came a long ways from goal. He wasn't. He was still in his own half. Patrick Collins came further, and there was nothing about him. It was very selective sort of reporting, I thought, on the thing. Darren McCarthy's free take, it's a system, but Darren McCarthy, and they're talking now about a shot clock. I mean, the shot clock in rugby has actually contributed to guys actually slowing down the thing, because you'll see them now looking at the clock and they wait until there's 2 seconds left in the clock before they kick the ball, because they're running the clock down, and sort of the average. I mean, Darren McCarthy has a routine. All free takers, most free takers, have routines now, because it's a results-driven game. You're measured on your thing. You're 9 from 10. You're 7 from 8, or whatever you are. But everyone is important, and the scores are important. But like it's no. I think there's a whole lot being made out of not a whole lot after Saturday night. There was issues, and they weren't properly dealt with, I thought, on the night. And then there was other aspects that the players and the management teams have no control over. But I'm disappointed with the Cork public. I always regard the Cork hurling public, or the Cork sporting public, as sporty. And I feel the GA needs the Corks, the Waterfords, the Galways, and all those, because the hurling in particular is a very small family, and it needs them all. But you don't need the stuff that was going on the other night. You don't need that kind of support. Like, that's to be brutally honest about it.
JJ, there's an awful lot there. I don't know if there's anything you want to pick up on.
I just wanted to pick up on one thing that Tom said, just with regard to the assessors, I suppose, and the reference to the John Keenan match a few years ago in Munster. I mean, John Keenan didn't get any more matches because he didn't. The game we were talking about, he just didn't referee it. And you see, I have a major issue with people who talk about letting the game run when that's actual code for saying you don't enforce the rules. John Keenan in that particular match just ignored all the rules of the game, and then people are praising, it's a great game, it's a free-flowing game, and so on. Well, why bother with rules if you're going to ignore them? And the whole purpose of the assessors, in my view, is to try and standardise so that you get referees, on the same hymn sheet, having the same interpretation of particular rules, and not having a massive variation between them. And this thing of letting the game run is just nonsense, in my view. It's just an excuse for not implementing the rules. I agree with Tom totally on the Cork supporters. It's a new dimension as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't. I never saw this before from Cork, and I'm just disappointed that there are plenty of spokespersons from Cork on among the pundits and every place else, and you would imagine some of them would have something to say about this, but they seem to be curiously very silent on it, which is a pity, because it needs to be stamped out.
It does, and it's unfortunate that almost a scapegoating is taking place of Dara to a certain extent. I'm loath to use his name, but Paul Carroll did some analysis on it of this parish, and has kind of demonstrated that while TJ Reid takes slightly longer than Dara, Patrick Horgan takes slightly less. Everyone's in around the same ballpark. So I just think it's getting a little bit. The narrative of this is getting just bothering me, because now it's becoming like everyone, other supporters are going to start picking up on it, and it becomes an issue, and it bothers me a lot, actually. Yeah,
it is, and yes, sorry, Tom. Yeah,
go on, Tom.
No, just I think Ken mentioned there was a slightly hostile atmosphere in Cork, and I actually agree with him. It was the first time I felt that as well on Saturday night, that the sort of Cork attitude, it's normally a great place to go, and their supporters are usually fantastic, and there's a great old banter and wit between themselves and the Tipperary followers. That was absent, I thought, on Saturday night, and there was that kind of edge to things. And it's a pity, because, I mean, go back to years, we've been on the receiving end from Cork an awful lot more than they have from us, and I don't know where this thing is coming out of, and particularly targeting, one of the youngest inter-county players, just in his second season, and to have him targeted like that. I mean, the guy showed incredible maturity to stand up to that on Saturday night, and the couple of frees he got, which weren't easy frees, he absolutely nailed them, despite the deafening noise of boos and jeers coming from the Cork crowd. So I think it is an issue, and I think we shouldn't be shy about highlighting it.
Tom?
The biggest elephant in the hurling room currently is the hand pass, throw, sling pass, and all that type of stuff. That was ignored the other night, apart from one that was pulled, which was incorrect, and that had a bearing on the game as well. And I wouldn't be advocating not refereeing the game. I think that a free is a free and should be given. Now, I think Cork were a bit peeved. There was jeers after maybe 25 minutes. I was keeping the free count. We had 6 frees, Cork had only 1, but Cork were fouling and we were getting the frees. But I think there was a bit of payback later on that I'm not sure what went on between Liam Cahill and Liam Gordon as they were going off the field. It seemed amicable enough, but I kind of thought the second half kind of attitude kind of was, well, I'll show who's boss here, and the free count went the other way. And there was a glaring one on Oisin O'Donoghue down in the right-hand corner. When the game was finally balanced at 3 points, a cast iron free, your man held him while he was on the ground. Jeremy Elric held him and prevented him from being able to play the ball. Eventually, another Cork lad came in, John McGrath fouled him, innocuous enough, free out. And John just kind of, you could see by the thing, said, kind of, why didn't you give the one there? And it was, like, I thought he was going to bring it up to 20 metres, like.
Okay.
You know, sort of, they're only small things, but they're the things that annoy people as well. Like, but the Cork, again, it goes back to the Cork support. They were on the case. They were on the case too, like that. This raucous old G, or like, you know, when they got the free, like, but they weren't entitled to frees. What I'd be saying, and apart from them sort of things, the throws and them little things, they're only little things. The assessor, the guy above the stand, isn't ticking that box, like, or is it just laissez-faire, a la carte, like, just we'll let go and we'll pull another one here and there, like.
You careful now, Tom. You're looking for consistency in refereeing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no consistency when it comes to the throw. I looked at Kildare Antrim yesterday evening, and my God, like, I was amazed that Davy stayed as quiet as he did when they were losing the match. That was a very serious match, and
was for Antrim, yeah.
Yeah, but the referee in that didn't cover himself in glory last day he was in Croke Park either, like in one of the club finals. And now he's done one of the key matches in the basement area in Division 1B, like, you know, that's a match that is essentially, I mean, Antrim were on it in bother, I'd say, after losing that match yesterday. But like, he didn't like JJ's story, a bit like John Keenan. He didn't referee at all, but everyone was delighted with John Keenan's performance the year in Thurles because nothing developed out of it. The players got on with it and everything was grand, and there was a whole plethora of stuff that should have been pulled, but it wasn't pulled, and everyone thought it was great. Everyone thinks it's great when it's not their own team are playing.
Yes. It's
not Tipperary are playing. Yeah, we look at this match as a neutral and say, oh, that's just great, it's fierce, exciting stuff. But like, no, when your own crowd are playing, then you give a free, you get a free, and that's the way it should work. But unfortunately, that's not it. But the throw thing seems to be there. That's going to be there, and there's nobody cares a whit about that. Like.
Not a whit. I completely agree with you. There's a couple of yeah, go on, JJ. Yeah.
A quick point on the throw, because Donal Óg, apparently when you look back at the television, Donal Óg made a big issue about this and highlighted the Jason Ford so-called hand pass from last summer, and presented it more or less as a kind of model for what players should be doing, and praised it. When you actually slow it down, you look at it, Jason Ford threw the ball on that occasion. And actually, somebody reminded me today that Jason Ford has actually admitted himself that he threw that ball. And this has been held up by Donal Óg as the model for what everybody else should be doing, a tool of intelligence or something he called it. It's this sort of rubbish. And every game now is absolutely riddled with thrown balls, left, right and centre, and there's no stomach at all there in Croke Park to tackle this issue, which is an absolute blight on the game.
I agree. I was interested in John Kiley's word to the media on it when he was asked specifically about the throw ball. His answer was that it is the player's responsibility to make sure there is a clear striking action with the hand. No player is taking responsibility for ensuring there is a clear striking action with the hand, and it is a blight, and we could spend an hour talking about it. I'm going to just ask you both to finish by just perhaps talking about the play, the actual match itself, and if there's any takeaways from it from your point of view, from a Tipperary point of view.
Yeah, I don't think we will have learned an awful lot from it. I'm not a great person for statistics, but just one stat from the game stands out when we're talking about why Cork won this match and why Tipperary lost it. The Tipperary's 6 starting forwards scored 5 points in the game. 5 points in total between them. Cork's starting 6 forwards scored 18 points from play between them. There was the difference. You had Dara Fitzgibbon and you had Alan Connolly leading the way. They were the cutting edge, really, the Cork attack. We didn't have the same ability in our forward line at all. I think we did throughout the game. We did more of a holding job on Cork than ever looking like we had enough to push on and actually win it. We restricted them and we didn't concede a goal, which is unusual in view of what happened last year, but we didn't really have enough in the tank to push on against them. And the other thing I think take away from it is that ultimately, as we go through this league and through the remaining rounds of it, we will be going back more and more towards last year's team, because those are the guys we need. We need full strength a team to tackle the remainder of the league and the championship.
Tom, I'll leave the last word with you.
Yeah, it's hard to be difficult to beat. What JJ has summed it up there pretty well. Like, funny, I don't. When you have a huge raft of scorers, that oftentimes looks good for a team. But no, we never looked like we hadn't a goal threat. Our return from the forward line in the second half, in particular, was not good. But I think Cork were smarter. Here, tactically, I think they, like a lot of we scored more from frees than them, but tactically they cut down the quality of ball going to our forwards was hurried, and then more times it didn't go at all because there was a foul committed, and then we got our frees typified by four of the frees were probably from our own half, like. And I mean, there was 6 of them, because Jason's 2 frees were beyond the halfway line in the first half as well, like. And like Cork cut down our supply source when there was a danger. They erred on the side of caution. They never gave us a chance to get ball. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, but the other side of it, I'd say 5 minutes to go, 3 points down. The Paddy McCormick throw, which wasn't a throw, like that deprives us of score, and we should have got the other free. But the other thing is, 3 weeks ago, I just said to you, Roland, first 3 matches, 4 points. Yes, we have 4 points, and I think a decent performance on Saturday night in the light of things that had, things outside things that had happened last year that, you'll be fearful that these things could happen again. Cork really wanted to win that match. They gave it 110%. I don't know where we'd be, probably in middle 90s, I'd say, in terms of the overall thing. So I'd be more than happy with where we are at this stage. 4 points. It'll take 6 points to put you back down into the trapdoor area. That won't happen. And the question then of whether we're good enough to make a league final or not. If we are, we are, and if not, I wouldn't be losing any sleep over either.
Tom and JJ, that was very entertaining. Thanks for your time. Thanks indeed, Tom and JJ. There, lots to take, lots of takeaways from that. Just on the freeze, an awful lot of people coming in on the issues there, the comments that Ben O'Connor has said. Here is a small snippet from the All Ireland Senior Hurling Final of 2005.
Over 82,000 people are here, and that's going to be a free in. There was a push. The push
so
was
free in by Ollie Canning, and it's going to be a Cork free.
So first chance for Cork to get themselves a score after just over 2 minutes of play, and it's going to be Ben O'Connor who will take it.
Here comes Ben.
We mentioned players who are watching it everywhere and anywhere, or people watching it everywhere and anywhere in the world. He was telling me that a friend of his
taking his time.
Keith watching it, member of the Newton Chandron Club. Well, he's giving it maximum care and maximum attention.
Maximum care, maximum attention.
Could be crucial, and Ben has taken the first scoring opportunity, and Cork have taken the lead.
That free took 30 seconds to take. Our text number is 083 311 3311. 083 311 3311. Disappointment for Clonmel High School. They played Tralee CBS in the Kearney-Veree final in Mallow on Saturday. Paddy O'Gorman spoke to the media afterwards.
Yeah, extremely proud of the players, I suppose. Look, being honest, the perception was that we didn't have a chance going into it, probably with a lot of people out there, but kind of we didn't let that get across the players. We knew we had a chance, and maybe they kind of we got a good start. In fairness, I don't know, did we go 3 or 4-1 up, and then they got a run on us, and it was very hard in hurling or football. In football, when they got momentum, they kind of punished, and that's a sign of great players that they have. So it was very hard to break the momentum, and then in the second half, when we got momentum, they found it hard to stop us. And it was just, I suppose, we got it back to 3, and they got the next score, and that kind of brought them back into the momentum swung again. But look, couldn't be prouder of the players. They are some group of players, and not just a great united group. They're actually very, very talented footballers, and I think they proved that to everyone today.
For sure, like it was 8 points in it at half time. I'm sure the half-time speech would have been good start to the second half, whatever. They come out and score 1-1 in about 60 seconds to put 11 points between it, and we were saying on commentary that this could be a long half an hour for this second half, and somehow with 10 minutes to go it's a one score game. Like the character, as you said, shown by the lads. Like, what changed out there? What did you see from the lads out there in that second half?
I don't know, I suppose we had nothing to lose, like, and in the first half we were down to 14 again, and it's so hard against such talented group, like where Tralee CBS, like when you're a man down, you're trying to defend with 15 against 15. It's even harder when you're 14. But in the second half, I think they just put the shackles off at one stage and just said, we threw Mikey back in again. With that black card had a serious impact on us, because we had to bring Mikey back out the field when we got the black card. And then with the new rules, you have to keep 3 up, so there's a guaranteed a man over every time on the attacking side. So yeah, I suppose it's the heart that they have. They just never give up, never.
And so much talent, as you mentioned. Luke Foley, I think, did he get 3 2-pointers out there? He got a brilliant goal. He had 1 or 2 other goal chances, and maybe when you look back on this game, there was, I think, 4 or 5 balls dropped short, or he had more wides than they had. Like, when you really put it together, like there was chances out there.
It's like, I suppose in modern day football, it's key not to. We'd always tell the boys, don't drop the ball short, whatever you do. But you can't underestimate the conditions out there when you're trying to kick a ball when the ground is so soft. Their standing foot kind of goes from under you, so that it's not that they're not trying to get the ball over the bar, it just doesn't go over. And then another thing, I suppose, a muddy ball, the atmosphere, even the ball doesn't travel as far, so that's why sometimes it's not anyone's fault. The ball can drop short, but when you drop the ball short against a team like that, they'll punish you every time. And that's what they did. They punished us. They got in the break, and they did punish us, like Garrod White, and what a talent he is. But I thought we did okay in him, but he's still some talent.
Yeah, it was his goal that really kind of maybe quenched that fire that G had lit in that second half. And John, another day he mightn't have been on the field at that time. There was kind of a black card, possible yellow card situation there that didn't go. But there was also a moment before half time where I think Mike Maguire's shot was saved by the goalkeeper. One of these 2 moments, like, you might be thinking about these driving back up the road.
Yeah, look, I suppose a referee's job is a very hard job, and with listening to the likes of me and Dave Power on the sideline, I wouldn't like to be doing that job. But a couple of decisions probably went against Tralee. When you're on the sideline, you're only watching the decisions that go against you. So I guarantee you, Mark O'Shea and Liam were probably looking. There was probably decisions against them that they would have thought the same thing. Do you know? But yeah, that's life. You kind of have to deal with these decisions and move on. Like, and we just said to the boys inside there, like, it's been a long road that we've been together, and at the end of the day, we're all disappointed. You kind of celebrate the 5 minutes after game when you win is the best feeling in the world. The 5 minutes after you lose a game is probably the worst feeling in the world. But at the end of the day, it's only sport, and they'll have to sit there, go in on Monday and do their mocks, and please God, they'll do well in that and get their heads right for it. Because that's what's more important at the end of the day.
Paddy O'Gorman speaking to Tip FM after the Tralee CBS 219 to 113 victory of the high school Clonmel. Tommy Morrissey was on comms duty for us. How are you, Tommy?
I'm good, Ronan. How are you?
I'm very good. I was working Saturday, listening to the match, and after the first 5 minutes I was thinking this is going really well. Long balls into Mikey Maguire. They led 3 points to 1 and were playing really, really well. They were playing confidently as well, the high school. I suppose Tralee just reorganised then. Was that what happened?
Yeah, it's a fairly good summary of it. Like, the first 4 attacks the high school had, I felt there was probably 4 goal opportunities in that. And, even if they were to take one of them, albeit they did get 3 scores off them, but even if they were to get a goal out of one of them, it would have made a difference and would have compounded that strong opening 5-10 minutes and made a bit more of a gap. But then once, as you said, Tralee got a hold of the high school, bit of ill-discipline with a black card and that you couldn't afford against Tralee, and you're playing for 10 minutes in that first half down to 14. And at that point then their class was shown through, and their forwards, that, the likes of Garrod White and Nick Lacey, these lads they were revelling in the space, and they punished the high school. Yeah,
were Tralee just more street smart?
I suppose in a way maybe yes, but I felt that they were just probably better footballers, if you're being brutally honest, Ronan. They had the huge ability in their forward line, and to me that was the difference. Like, they they needed a half a chance to create a score. Whereas, with the high school, we probably needed, 2 chances to get one and needed to open up a bit easier for us. So it was just that little bit of class, like that Kerry football ability was in them, and Tralee were very good. Like,
sometimes when you lose a final, you lose sight of the journey that you were on. And I think it would be a shame if Clonmel High School lose sight of that, because it was a hell of a journey and they played some really good football to get to that final.
Brilliant, and it'll be hard for Paddy and his management team and the players at this point to look at that, some sort of a justification. But you're right; they've been brilliant all year, and to get to the final is no mean achievement. So they've done that, and in the second half they showed exactly what they're about. They were dead and buried, and I personally thought there was no way back for them. The way Tralee were playing, they were exceptional, but. The way that this player stood up, Harry Lawler, Luke Foley with his 2 pointers, Killian Smith I thought was excellent carrying ball at Tralee, and then Aaron McAndrew and James O'Brien, who made a couple of brilliant saves. So, there was outstanding performances over the hour, but ultimately, it just fell short. And they'll be hurting because, I heard Paul asking Paddy about a couple of things. That those 5 drop short, Ronan, were cruel, and I know underfoot conditions were poor, but Tralee didn't make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And that ultimately is the difference. And when you get a goal chance, when you're the underdog, you get goal opportunities. You need to take them, because those scores are pivotal, to make a difference. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
Like the Harty, they stay in the competition, don't they?
No, the football is different.
Right, so that's it. Season's over.
That's it. Season's over, yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to their
Well, some of those lads will be involved in both, maybe the under-20s, maybe some of them even under-17. I don't know what age profile is like. There's a lot of football left, but I suppose they'll look down to their exams and their mocks now. But hell of a journey for Clonmel High School. Great, I think, for Tipperary football as well. I'd like to emphasise that.
Brilliant for Tipperary football running. There was 6 of that starting team that plays county minor last year. And it's great to see them progressing on and performing for their school again. And like you said, Paddy O'Gorman has a few of them in with the Tip 20s. So, they'll develop further in there as well, hopefully. And I genuinely think we'll see those names in a Tipperary senior jersey in the years to come.
Tommy, as always, thanks for your time.
Cheers, Ronan.
Not at all. It's Tommy Morrissey joining us there. Ursuline Thurles are through to the All-Ireland A Schools Camogie final. They went up to Ballycastle to take on the semi-final. They trailed at half-time but ran out 114 to 1-9 winners up in Cushendall. In Tip Ladies football, tight game in Mayo. They went all the way up to Swinford on Saturday night. This thing costs money, I tell you, lads. Fair play to the Ladies County Board, but I suppose they could do with all donations gratefully received. 2 points was all that was between the Tip Ladies footballers and Mayo in Swinford. Final score 9 points to 7. Tipperary with 1 win from their 3 outings in ladies football so far. Camogie, I think it's underway next weekend. Our text number is 083 311 3311. I'm moving sports to rugby now. John Long from Nina Ormond is with us. How are you, John?
Hi, Ronan.
I made the point last week, I can't remember who you played last week, but you ended up scoring 5 tries. I know you were beaten, but you ended up scoring 5 tries, and I was just impressed with that, because I kind of felt like each week you're going out and you're swinging and you're landing punches. It's just not quite working for you in terms of getting points on the board, in terms of league points, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's been a huge jump for us this year, Ronan. I mean, senior rugby is a competitive league in sport in Ireland, and Division 1A is like 10 steps of everything ahead of everything else. It's professional rugby, whatever way you look at it. I mean, every week we go out, we're playing against provincial academy and A players, and it's just a massive challenge to a small club like Nina.
And I know the lads are motivated, because you're going out and you're playing Lansdowne, and Max Deegan might be playing for Lansdowne, for example. You know, it's kind of a thing you can tell your grandkids. You played against somebody who went on and probably gets Ireland caps. But it's hard to motivate yourself week in, week out when you're shipping defeats. But in fairness to them, I think their performances, their league table position belie just how gutsy some of those performances have been.
Yeah, in fairness, like, they show up every week and they give it their all. They're still a fantastic team, a fantastic bunch of players. It's the same group of guys that have gone back-to-back promotions to get where they are this year. It is, I suppose, hard to face those losses every week and come off the pitch every Saturday, but they know the league they're in. They know the heights they're playing at now. I mean, a few weeks ago we played Munster, and Tony Butler was playing 10, and the following Friday night he was playing for Munster down in Cork, and that's what you're up against week in, week out. Charlie Tector for Lansdowne again. He's featured for Leinster in the last couple of games. That's the calibre you're playing against week in, week out, and while it is hard to take on all those losses, we're really driving home the fact to the lads that it's just the nature of the beast and where we're at and where the league we're playing, the standard we're playing against. You wouldn't swap it though. I mean, when you think about your journey here, the playoff against UCC or whatever it was, that was truly momentous. And even though not going well for you this year, this is a historical year in the history of Nina Ormond Rugby Football Club. 100%, and as I say, it's pretty much the same group of lads, and they'll be remembered for that game against UCC and winning the Munster Senior Cup last year, and Division 1A getting there. That's what they'll be remembered for. They won't be remembered for back-to-back losses throughout the season. But it's what they've done to get here and the journey they've been on, and that's what we need to keep drilling home to them. And look, we'll keep showing up and keep no doubt keep trying to put on a performance. It was Ballynahinch this week, and who's next? We're off now for the next 2 weeks, a well-earned rest. Enjoy the AIL or enjoy the Six Nations and sit down and enjoy it without having to think about trips across the border and the expense of that. I often make the point it's so expensive for AIL clubs with the journey. I know that some of that's getting restructured next year. More on that in due course. John, it's always good talking to you, my friend. Take care of yourself. We'll talk again soon. Thanks, Ron. Not at all. John Long, if you can get an opportunity to go to Lissatunny and watch them play, they're playing against some top-class opposition, and they're a top-class team themselves. Elsewhere in Division 2A, Cashel had a very narrow home defeat at the hands of Ballymena. Finished 22, Ballymena 22, Cashel 20. Cashel will get the bonus point, but I'm sure they were looking for maximum points there. And there was almost a cup final element to Clonmel's 29-19 win over Thomond that sees them leapfrog the Limerick side and then go top of Division 2C of the AIL. Lots of really, really good games in the AIL to come. 2 weeks off, of course, but it's been a difficult enough weekend for Irish rugby with the defeat in Paris on Thursday night, defeat for the Ireland A team in Thomond Park on Friday night, I think, defeat for the Ireland under-20s in Perpignan against France as well. Very, very difficult teams. Weekend for Irish rugby, but we'll see what next weekend brings. Let's take a quick break. Back in a sec.
Extra time on Tipp FM. The Tipp FM Sports Star of the Month with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel. Multi-award winning wedding specialists with state-of-the-art leisure facilities and spa with food served daily.
The Tipp FM Sports Star of the Month.
Get your nominations in now.
One texter's asked me if there is a venue confirmed for the Tip Senior Footballers game this coming Sunday. As far as I understand, it's on in Semple Stadium at 2 o'clock next Sunday afternoon. That's my understanding. I think we're playing Carlow in round 3 of the National Football League. That's my understanding, and it's confirmed for Semple Stadium, or so I'm told. Certainly no change in venue yet. 083 311 3311. Barry Ryan is online. Barry, how are you?
How are you, Ronan?
No real games of note this weekend because of weather, pitches, etc. But the FAI draw was done, wasn't it?
Yeah, the FAI draw was done. I think the big thing that came out of it was 2 Wildburst against St Michael's again, a repeat of the Tipperary Cup, and still have to play each other in the league. So they could play each other 3 times now in the next 5 or 6 weeks, which I suppose from the neutrals could be three great games, but I think they would have very much liked to avoid each other.
It's just getting out of your area is the first thing you got to navigate. It's kind of like the hurling championship. You've got to get out of Munster and you can't think beyond that. But that's a hell of a scalp that'll be gone from the TSDL representatives when it goes to a national draw.
Yeah, 100%. And look, that's always the biggest thing is obviously there'll be 3 teams or 4 teams that come out of the TSDL area. And obviously, you'd always like to get as many of your strongest sides out as possible. But I suppose that's why, and I've heard you say it several times on the show, the FAI Junior Cup is so hard to win because in round 1,
hardest thing to win in sport.
St Michael's, Cameltown, Burris, you could all get each other. There's no seeding. It's literally you could be anywhere.
Yeah, it's also going to get complicated, isn't it, with the advent of summer football?
this is going to be the biggest problem. And this is my own theory as to why the games weren't played at the weekend. The sun was shining on Sunday. Pitches were good. Most clubs were saying they were more than happy to play. But I think the TSDL are very aware that this season could be over in early March. And I think they saw an opportunity to protect some of the pitches, stretch the games out another couple of weeks, because that may help the teams that are involved with the FAI Junior Cup. The reality is you're going to be playing the business end of the FAI Junior Cup this year on your holidays when there's no local football. And that's going to be a real challenge. You know, especially for the clubs in the country now, like Waterford, for example, are playing summer football. So they're going to play the FAI Junior Cup in the middle of their season. So it's going to get very difficult for the leagues that aren't doing that.
You're making a compelling argument then for summer football, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I've nailed my colours to the mast. I understand all the reasons people will argue, you know, and it's hard on players to play other sports and use soccer to keep fit for the winter and enjoy playing and all of that.
You can't use the GAA as a reason not to do the right thing for football. If it's the right thing to do for football, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just what needs to happen. And I understand it's difficult and stuff like that. But even if you look at games getting called off for pitches and stuff like that, we don't have, unfortunately, in this country enough AstroTurf facilities and stuff like that. So we need to play summer football. And funnily enough, I actually think it will help with the clashes, because when we play summer football, soccer can play a TSDL game on a Monday night, a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night, a Thursday night. We can play nighttime evening games, which will allow rescheduling of fixtures if clubs work together to allow players to play other sports and stuff like that. So I actually think there will be ways around it as well, and the pitches will take multiple games as well.
Barry, it's a subject we'll have to return to when we have more time. Thank you again for your efforts this evening. We'll talk soon.
Thanks very much, Ron.
That's Barry Ryan joining us there. Believe it or not, that's all. We've run out of time again. Ian O'Connor produced. We'll be back next Monday night. Good night and good luck.
At 8, good